Hello, I'm Michael Cantrell, and you are listening to the Prison Officer Podcast, a place to have a conversation about the forgotten cops that work in this country's jails, prisons, and correctional centers. A place for me to try to make sense of a career spent working inside the fence with some of the greatest people that nobody sees or recognizes for the important job they do to keep this world safe. If you love this podcast, hit the follow button, or better yet, share with your family, friends, or coworkers. Hey guys, before I get to our first guest, I just want to take a moment today and thank Pepperball. You know, they've been a sponsor of the Prison Officer Podcast for more than 3 years, and without their sponsorship, I wouldn't be able to bring this content to you. We wouldn't be able to have these great conversations with these leaders and trainers in corrections. You know, I used Pepperball for more than 20 years when I was working in the institution. It was something I believed in. So it was easy for me when I got the chance to become a master instructor for Pepperball. I get to go out and train law enforcement and corrections, and I get to see you guys in the field. So I really appreciate that. The great thing about Pepperball is it gives the officers the confidence to have a tool that they can use that they know is going to work. If you would, reach out to Pepperball. www.pepperball.com, and thank them for sponsoring the Prison Officer Podcast. And while you're there, see all the new things that are part of the Pepperball family. Well, hello, and welcome back to the Prison Officer Podcast. My name is Mike Cantrell, and today I have a guest, Matthew Hyde. Matthew is a leadership strategist, author, and podcaster with a decade of experience leading high-pressure correctional teams. He served as a correctional sergeant, CERT Commander, mobile field force commander, and instructor. He gained firsthand experience in managing complex operations and making high-stakes decisions in these positions. He's an FBI LEADA, L-E-E-D-A, if you guys have seen that. It's a leadership trilogy award. I'm going to cut that out. He is an FBI LEADA Leadership Trilogy Award recipient and holds a bachelor in organizational leadership and an MBA in management from Indiana Tech. He specializes in translating lessons learned in corrections into actionable strategies for leaders in any environment, helping teams build accountability, resilience, and high performance. He's the author of a new book, From Rookie to Rank, and we'll talk more about that. He is passionate about empowering leaders to set clear standards, lead with integrity, and cultivate teams that thrive under pressure. Welcome to the Prison Officer Podcast, Matthew.
Hi, thank you very much.
Absolutely. I'm glad to have you on here. The people that listen to this podcast regularly know when I've got guests, I want to know who they are and how they got in corrections. So start me out at the beginning. Where'd you grow up and how'd your life progress from there?
Yeah, so I grew up like right in the middle of Indiana, so nothing going on around us. Grew up playing pretty competitive baseball, traveled the country as a pitcher, had some scouting reports. Teenage mistakes kind of, gotten that passion of my career of trying to be a baseball player. But, just wanted to live a normal life, went off to college for a year, learned what it's like to not have practice or anything going on. So all that freedom, probably too much freedom. Mm-hmm. 1 year of college, it was time to come back home. I figured, hey, I'm just going to be an entry-level guy everywhere I go. I was just going to accept that. But as I got older, that really isn't what I wanted to do. I saw people doing, cool jobs with, decent money, and that's where I wanted to go. So I started looking into the military. The National Guard hooked me pretty quick because I wasn't sure if I really wanted to dive into that. I was still a mama's boy, didn't want to go too far from home, but I still wanted to make a difference. It's for something bigger than myself. So I went down to Fort Benning, 11 Bravo Infantry, made it all the way through. Training accident, shattered my arm. Still stayed in for about 5 years, but off and on, I had about 5 or 6 surgeries to try to get it okay. So a lot of my time was not really spent out in the field. It was spent helping the officers around or, the higher ranking sergeants. Mm-hmm. So that's where I kind of started noticing, what they were doing, what was working, what wasn't working. And it was really introduced me to, ego and different aspects of that. Got out of the National Guard, started working some odd jobs. I was selling like garage door parts for a little bit. And, I just really wasn't liking that. So, I had this dream of becoming a police officer. I was like, all right, well, let's start off in jail. Let's kind of see how that goes. Started off, I was hired as a juvenile officer at first, which is a totally different realm. If anybody's ever worked juvenile, That's its own
Right.
craziness. There's starting to be some.
That's not police or corrections.
No, that is a different world. It is not the same. So there were some cutbacks going on, and they were worried about maybe cutting some juvenile staff. So what the sheriff did was he allowed some of the, juvenile staff to move over to the jail. Like, perfect. Let's do that. Fell in love with it right away. I was within like 6 months, I was already becoming an FTO. So that's when I really started feeling like somebody sees something in me. And after that, I really started to dig this passion of, all right, so somebody sees something in me and leading people and teaching people. I know what I'm doing. Let's hone in on this. And I just went 100 miles an hour there. So.
Okay. So walk me back to the first time you walked in the jail. What was that like? What do you remember? What's the sights and sounds of, had you ever been in jail before?
No, just for that, I'm not built for jail. There's no way I would last a second, but I like having a key to walk out. It was different. Anybody knows, like, the smell is different. The energy is thick. It's either kind of calm or extremely hectic. And I think the first day I walked in, there's a dude like mule kicking a door, and staff's just like walking around like it's not a big deal. I'm like, what is this? And somebody's getting brought up. So I'm like, this is like this. They're like, this doesn't usually happen. Like, it was just one of those first days of like, whoa, dude.
Right.
But
so how large was your jail? How many inmates did you guys handle?
I think we could house around 500, maybe a little bit more if we needed to.
Pretty good sized jail.
Yeah, pretty decent size. And we were, we needed an additional area. We were bunking three inmates to one cell, so the hostility was really high. We were kind of landlocked to what we could do. So we came in at a pretty hectic time. So maybe that was helpful once they did expand. But yeah, it's a pretty big jail and a lot of upset people.
Yeah, people tend not to be happy when they go visit jail.
Yeah,
that's usually not a good trip. Yeah,
some are. You'd be surprised.
Well, yeah, there are some that show up. Hey, good food, a mattress, exactly. So you start off as an officer?
Yeah, just right off as an officer.
Okay, and what's your next step after officer?
So I'd right into FTO.
You mentioned.
So I was, about 6 months in, I started training people, and then I wanted to learn more. And I figured the best path to learn more was to become an instructor. So I wanted to not just...
Tell me about your...
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about your FTO program, because that's something that I've been dealing with a lot in the last year. Tell me about your guys' FTO program. When a new recruit shows up, a new trainee, what's the program?
Yeah, so when I first started, it was just... hey, Hyde, here's a trainee for you today. And like, I haven't put my food down yet. Like, now I have a trainee for how many weeks? Like, I don't even know this person. Okay, I wasn't planning on but being an FTO and then offering my ideas helped out a lot, because we had some say. For a while, what we were doing is we were having all the FTOs take a DISC assessment. And then we'd have all the trainees take a DISC assessment. And that way we knew who to match up with, because you don't want like a dominant personality with a very analytical personality. Like me, very high analytical. Me being trained by somebody who's more of a dominant, just that doesn't, to me, they don't think anything through. So we would bash heads constantly, and that it didn't help our retention. So so we started doing that, and then we started having our officers go through an actual FTO certification course.
Okay.
Which there weren't a lot for corrections, but we were still sending them off to like law enforcement, which is fine. But I started to see these needs of like, we need a corrections based, because it's not the same. We're not stuck in a car with them for hours or weeks. We can at least
weeks, months.
Yeah, we can at least expand out and walk around and kind of, I don't know. It's just very different. But we're having them actually certified to at least, talk to other people, see what it's like to FTO. And then we had, maybe like a sergeant that would overlook the whole FTO program and then match people. and like work with the instructors, during the academy. How is this person acting? What do you think we could work on? Who do you think would match best with this person? So still very informal. I'm not sure where they're at today, but I know a lot of places are trying to advance the FTO program because that's where the retention is.
Yeah. Command presence. That's what I've been working on this year. We developed the coach, train, evaluate method for correctional training officers, which was a law enforcement one, but I took and revamped it, and we did our first class in Michigan last month. Got another one coming up, but
that's great.
Yeah, when people were looking, there's not a correctional training. Well, there wasn't, a specifically correctional training officer course that talks about, what correctional officers need. The thing that's hard is the timelines. What was your guys' timeline? Because there is nothing across this nation as a set timeline. It's all over the place from a couple of days to a few months.
Yeah.
What was your guys' timeline?
I think it was like 6 weeks.
Okay. That's not
bad
from what I see.
But I've been, I go places, they're like, hey, we need this person ready in 2 weeks. Like, I know you want that, but that's, we don't know who we're getting. They might need more time. Or I think another issue is some people maybe don't pass FTO. And accepting that is okay. It's fine. It's there's a lot on the line. And if they don't make it through FTO, we can't just put butts in seats. We also have to be open to, you didn't pass FTO. That you go to the road, you fail FTO, you're done. That's it. Corrections needs to be, if they're going to be held to a high standard or an equal standard, it seems like in court, then we have to do the same thing, because I know all of our guys would rather run short with a bunch of studs than a packed house full of turds. I don't know what, because that's your backup. Your family relies on that. And if they can't pass FTO, that there's an issue here. So I think accepting that you don't pass it's okay. It's just part of the game.
That's a great point. And I won't ask you to answer for where you were at, but I will mention that, I talk to a lot of CTOs and FTOs, and the pressure they get from admin, from the sheriff, from the warden to get people through, sometimes if they're not the right person, and we all know it, but recruitment and retention is so high on the list right now. They're like, I don't care, push them through. I'll take them for a few weeks. And then I go to a class and I've got 3 different sheriff's departments in the same state there. And they're talking about a guy that they have all hired and fired in the last 2.5 years, and this guy's just spreading hate and discontent where he goes. But they're not vetting him. And you're absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. I'd rather have one person that I can trust than 10 I can't working with me every day.
Yeah. And I think that you need to value what your FTOs are saying. Like if they're the one, like they'll be so honest. But if you're like, we don't, you hear it as like, we don't care about your opinion, get them through. You're like, then I don't care how well they're trained. But the one time that person screws up, the first thing everybody asks, well, who trained them?
Yeah. Right.
He told you they weren't working. It wasn't working out, but they see it as like an attack where the FTO might be picking and choosing, but you've picked that person to be an FTO. So there's some level of trust and opinion in there. Value that. It's such an impactful part of leadership, is just listening and being like, hey, if you say so, but if it backfires, but if you guys are saying so.
Well, yeah, and I don't mean to be a little advertisement here, but one of the main things with FTO and CTO is the documentation. There's so many places that the documentation is, well, they were here today. No, we've got to document daily observation reports. What did they do? How did they do it? And for 2 reasons. 1, we can justify why we kept them or why we didn't. And then 2, you've got that backup as an FTO when something comes, because there is liability with training. And we may talk more about that. Being an instructor and being a training officer, there's liability. So if you're in those positions, having that documentation is what protects you also down the road when this person does something that they weren't trained to do or that they weren't supposed to do.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's like an undervalue of corrections, because, at county levels, a lot of time the sheriff will pick a road deputy to come in who's not dealt with the jail. So it's just kind of like they already have this view of the jail. It's like, no big deal, whatever. We'll just, transfer people, but legally, there's so much liability to it. Because if the FTO is like,
the same liability that there is for the patrol guys.
Exactly. It's the same courtroom. It's the same judge. It's the same jury. So, like,
same case law.
What are we doing? So, if you really want to protect yourself, and FTO is such a good start in leadership. Like, if you want to learn how to manage people that you don't like, do you want to throw baby in the water? All right, you're an FTO. Like that, it is a hard job. It is not easy, and it's not meant for everybody. It's a big deal.
No.
So that should be your frontline supervisor. Like do you have any FTO experience? Until then, we'd love to have you rank up, but maybe go FTO for a while and see how you can manage one person, let alone 20,
Right. So how long did you stay at FTO?
So maybe a couple years.
Okay. And then you promoted?
Well, so then I went to instructor, and a lot of time, just to kind of not spread too thin, because I was already teaching the new hire academy. I didn't want to build a certain relationship there and then go to FTO, because, FTO Hyde is not necessarily instructor Hyde. So, but I also want to open the door to other people. So if I'm taking on something already, I'll focus 100% on instructor, because there's still, I got to go to specialty schools. I got to go through a whole bunch of stuff. So FTO was just kind of like a foot in the door to show my interest. Moved over to instructor. And then, it wasn't maybe a couple years in FTO.
Right. And as an instructor, what does that entail in your department?
So in Indiana, you go through the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy instructor school.
Okay.
You go, it's a week-long certification, and then that certifies you in to teach anything law enforcement within the state of Indiana.
Okay.
So I went through that course. Yeah.
Everything from firearms to self-defense, or do you go to additional training for firearms and self-defense and
all that's separate? So this would just be like how to be an instructor. Here's how to do your documentation. Here's the legal liability side of instructing.
Okay.
So it's like a basic week-long course. Then after that, you go to your agency and you follow their SOPs.
Okay. So train the trainer. You're a general train the trainer. You can step into any of those and teach.
Yeah. So if it's just like
so tell me about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, tell me about that. What was that like as an instructor, as a position there?
Very busy. Working nights was difficult because hey, we got these amount of people that need trained in this. Maybe pick a couple specialties, and of course, mine. I really like tactics, so I started out as a taser instructor. Started looking into more of the CERT side. Wasn't on CERT yet, but I think I was, maybe I was considering it. So less lethal. So I want to be an OC instructor. So I went through a training, covered, 40 millimeters, 37 millimeter, flashbangs, OC. So I became an OC instructor, and I started doing that for a while, certifying all the new jail staff on taser and OC. And a lot of it was scenario based. So it helped me expand my mind and kind of come up with these crazy scenarios for them to go through. So that helped out a lot. Being an instructor helped out a ton, because the only way to really know something is to have to teach it. And I knew that. So if I'm going to be the best at something, I need to know I should probably try to teach it, because now I have to be the master. I'm the guy. So yeah, it was very busy, rewarding, tiring. It was all the emotions. It's like, oh, geez. It's fun spraying the new hires the first few times. And then after that, it's just like, oh, geez. Because it takes so long. It's not, it loses its fun quick once it gets real. So
it does. Yeah. Well, that's cool. So how long did you do that?
So 7 years. I'm still an instructor now. So just nonstop.
Okay. So what'd you step off into? Did you go ahead and move into CERT?
Yeah. So I joined CERT around, the same time I became an instructor. I was just a regular team member doing all the new guy grunt stuff, but it was a good time. It was fun getting started on that.
And what exactly does the CERT team do at your agency there? So
CERT it was a county level. So we did all call outs. So it was cell extractions, riot operations, hostage rescue, high risk, high profile transports, really anything that essentially was to take liability off staff. So if it was something that could, kind of guaranteed maybe a sort of use of force or something a little bit more specialty, they would call CERT in to kind of take on that liability because we trained more. We had more, most of us were all instructors already. So we teach the stuff.
Sure.
So, yeah, a little bit of everything.
Full-time, or was it a full-time gig?
No, I wish it'd have been a lot easier, but I mean, we were busy, but we still had to honor our shift. So,
okay. So you went from there. I got here that we're also the Mobile Field Force Commander. Walk me through that.
Yeah. So in 2020, our CERT Commander went to the road. So we had a process, and I had no rank yet. I was like, all right, well, it's open to anybody on the team. So I went for it. I studied really hard. I worked hard. I went through the interview process, and the team's they're 25 years old at the time. So I became the first non-ranking CERT Commander. So I had no formal rank whatsoever. And that's typically not what happens on that team. So definitely learned to navigate some emotions there. But, that was 2020. So there were some riots and some stuff, going on around the country where a lot of agencies kind of just got caught, unprepared. They had the tools, they had all the stuff. Not one person trained in it. So, they were just going to throw people to the wolves and hope for the best. But as we learned, that is a horrible idea, and they got caught. And so we didn't want to get caught. So the sheriff decided, well, since CERT already has, the riot gear and they've trained in riots, let's go ahead and have them start a mobile field force unit. So we get an email saying that Matt Hyde is the Mobile Field Force Commander. So I looked at my jail commander. I was like, what is Mobile Field Force? I have no idea even what that is. He goes, I don't know, dude. So we Googled it, found out. I was like, cool, perfect. A couple weeks later, I fly down to Texas for a week to go learn how to take on riot operations and stuff like that. Come back, train my team, and then end up training the agencies within our county. So the local law enforcement agencies were calling us up and then we had, this big training, which I really wanted to unite everybody together. So on paper, sounded very simple, but as jail guy, no rank, riot operations, police stuff. Let me tell you, the cops loved that. They were very receptive to the jail boy with no rank telling them what to do.
Right.
So navigating that was difficult, but we did it. So we did really well. Ended up, they all adopted our program. So yeah, successful, but a lot to take on.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, what training or who'd you go to down there in Texas?
Safariland. We did Safariland's riot operations. It was a really good course. Really enjoyed it. Right in the middle of
They've been doing it quite a while.
Yeah. And it was cool working with some places because a lot of the places down there had been through large protests. So, we had some Dallas SWAT guys. It was in Weatherford, Texas, where they actually had a pretty big protest there themselves over statues. So hearing their firsthand experience was really eye-opening. It was taught by some officers from Houston PD, who I guess they have over like 250 demonstrations a year. So they're very well versed in it. But yeah, the middle of a desert riot training, Indiana guy, I was not comfortable.
Yeah. 100 degrees in CS. What more could you ask for?
Man, it was a blast, I tell you.
So coming into that position, and I think that's a position that a lot of people step into, whether they stay inside corrections or whether they take on team leadership. And that we'll get into your book a little bit more, but you talk about from rookie to rank, and you're dealing with people who outrank you, people who probably have more time than you, people who possibly have more experience in some areas than you do. I was put in that position myself. How did you deal with it? What was it? What did you learn from that? Maybe you made some mistakes up front. That's fine. But what did you learn from that on how to deal with that?
Well, so I think it was nice because I didn't have an option. It was there. I couldn't be like, so it's like, dude, you got to figure this out. Like, you can't come in hot and heavy. That's exactly what they're expecting you to do. So I could have came in and been like, this is what we're doing. We're changing the game. I'm in charge. And there was guys on the team, they had been on the team longer than me. They had rank. So on paper, they 100% should have been picked over me. But I had to kind of not separate those guys to show who's in charge, which is maybe what they were expecting. Maybe what a lot of people would do is show force. But, what I wanted to do is bring them together, like, and acknowledge you guys have been on this longer than me. You have rank. What do I need to know? Where do we need to be? So, it was difficult because there's also staff that didn't agree with that. There were sergeants that weren't on CERT that disagreed with that. And they wanted to show that, well, you may be CERT commander, but I'm the sergeant. It's like, okay, dude, I know. Everybody knows who you are, what you are. So then I kind of established this. When you walk in the CERT locker room, man, there is no rank. Like, we're just positions.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes down to we're a team, we're going to work together. We're going to get through this. I'm no better than you. It's just when things go well, you guys get the praise. When things go bad, I go to the corner office and get told about it. Like, that's it. I'm going to take the lashings for you guys. I'm the scheduling of the training. I do all this. I just make sure you guys are ready. But you guys run the team. Like, so It took some time, but once they saw my intentions, it got better. And then how my goal was to advance the team. I wasn't thinking like a team member. I was thinking like a team commander. Thinking like a team commander, I'm not thinking of the small tactic stuff or the team movement stuff. So I think that's what helped was, maybe just a different mindset. Yeah. It was interesting navigating it, though.
I think you're absolutely right. You are the team commander. You're not going to be the person on the line standing out front going, follow me, boys. And that takes us, a lot of people take that as being, okay, I'm the team commander. Everybody's going to follow me. We don't follow you. We decide who's going to be in what position. We decide what tactics what this team's going to specialize in. And I did it quite a bit, and I think it makes a difference. And then once we decide all that, now I go grab a baton, I go grab a mask, and I go stack up in the back of the squad. Those are the leaders. They're the ones that are going to be on there. They're going to be reaching out to that commander or that, the person with rank in a real situation. And yes, I'll be sitting in the trailer at the end of that phone or radio for you. But during training, nothing, I think, builds that camaraderie more than just to grab a baton and get in the back of the squad and do the drills, do the gas, do everything with the people, and they feel you as part of that team. But if we're always, and I had so many of those that would stand there and watch us, everybody go through the gas, and they'd laugh and they'd heckle and they'd do this. They never went through it. Well, there's no respect when you come out on the other side of that.
No,
that's my opinion.
Yeah, well, if I'm the one always making all the decisions, what do I need you for? Like, if I'm the one with the weapon system, then I need everybody and I need them to replace me. So I'm going to put you in positions to make calls like that. You're on this team. Just like we would bring on a brand new person. We had I established a pretty decent, vetting process. But once you're on the team, now it started. You need to bring something to the team. There's only so much we're going to teach you. Right. We'll teach you the basics, but you need to bring something. And if you're on this team, you're a leader, and I'm going to develop leaders and future sergeants and future jail commander, or people that can think outside the box. And if you can't do that, if you need me to make every call for you, I don't need you, right? Like, I've got my stuff going because my headset, I have all the high-ranking staff talking.
Yeah,
I have team leaders that need to be going to do that.
Hey. And the way to give them and grow them is to give them the situations where they get to make those decisions. And it's not just listening to you. Just listening to me isn't the best way to do anything. I need people out there who can make decisions because they're the ones with the eyes on. They're the guys who are facing it, who are seeing what's really going on, not having it relayed.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think it was important that I would have it to where, since I'm the team commander, I only really need to be communicating with the team leaders when it came to CERT stuff. Like, if it was just, we could talk, like, very cool. But if you had a question about when's this or what's training or like what's going on, like, you need to go to your team leader, not me. So I would kind of take that as like, hey, team leaders, why are your guys coming to me? Or do they not feel comfortable coming to you? Or because now I'm thinking, if we're in an operation, that's who you need to be talking to. So we're establishing that early. If you have a question, you go to your team. Like, your team leader is your person. That is your team commander. And that chain of command helped out a lot because during a large operation, they would already be used to going to that person. So we were kind of instilling that. And I put a lot of value on team leaders and everybody else.
And that transcends teams for me. If you're working a housing unit and inmates aren't asking you questions as an officer, you're not running that housing unit. If you're a sergeant and your officers aren't asking you questions, then you're not looked at as a leader. So I think that transcends teams. That's corrections as a whole.
Yeah, and there's for me, training, it might have sounded very like nitpicky or don't talk to me, but really I'm just training you to use, like, chain of command is one, not optional, obviously, but it teaches a lot more in leadership. So just, knowing who to go to next is always, I don't know. There's a lot more to it than just the nitpicky stuff.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned a couple episodes ago when I was talking about leadership, it also gives the person in charge the opportunity to fix that problem. If you go past them, if you skip them, they don't have the opportunity to take care of that problem. They don't have the opportunity to make decisions. They don't have the opportunity to bond with their officer. So, yeah, I'm a huge chain of command.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, they want people to come to you even if it skips the person. Like, oh, we're open door. Like, yeah, but I need them to also handle it. Like, that's their gig. Right. I don't mind helping you if they're not here or whatever. Or if you don't feel comfortable, there's something, then there's more to that. But you need to go to that person. Right. That's the next in line.
Yeah. Yeah. So apparently you made sergeant.
Yeah. So
when did that happen?
So I had tested the first time and I failed the test. So the testing process was like, read 4 or 5 books, read all policies, procedures, Can
I ask which books?
Man,
I'm always interested in what leadership books. You remember any of them?
So, I mean, there was one, it was like basic corrections, case law and stuff. And then I think John Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership was one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember because I took it twice. So I've read a lot. I had to read a lot of books. They were good books. Like they were decent. It was just a lot. I had not, I've been COing for a while, not really reading books. I'd read some Jocko stuff and listened to the podcast and stuff like that. But then to take a test, like, man, I haven't taken a test in forever. I don't even know what to do anymore. So I missed it by like 2%. And that's in the middle of me being CERT Commander. So that was, pretty embarrassing, battling that. Because like, this CERT Commander can't even pass. Yeah, it's a test, man. Like I'm still leading people.
Sure.
But then I take it the second time and I pass, I get put on the list. At that time, around 2020, I had been, I was working video courts because of COVID. Which helped out because I was taking on mobile field force and CERT, and there's a lot going on. It was hard to do it on shift because then I'd have to do it at home. So the jail commander, they needed somebody to run their video court systems. In between court hearings, I would do that. So it was Monday through Friday, holidays off. I'm loving it. They're like, hey, Hyde, you're next up for sergeant. Do you want to take it? I'm like, no, I got a really good schedule. I have never cared about titles or rank. It does not mean anything to me whatsoever. Like your character is what shows. And I know I'm a good leader. I don't need a label or a sergeant label. But then it really didn't come up to me. They're like, all right, well, we're eliminating your position. Do you want sergeant now? Like, yeah. All right. So then, I go from that, CERT, high speed, good mentalities. I know who's coming on there. They're easy to mold. They're just a good group of people. And then I go to night shift, to a shift that's known to be a little wilder, and that was different. So, they're thinking, oh, we got the CERT Commander coming now where he's going to make us work and do like all this stuff. And yeah, I just laid low for a little bit, it's because I was the new guy to their shift. I couldn't just come in there like all hot and heavy. I'm the new guy. So it was very interesting. Big culture shock there.
That's something I don't think I've talked about on here, but it depends. The military has their own thoughts on this, and I've heard different leaders talk about it. But it's something when you become a leader, day one is not the time to come in there and just start changing stuff or just start, throwing that rank around. Some places say, 60 days, some say 90. I've heard at least a couple of weeks. And your job during that time as a leader is to observe, not just observe what's going wrong,
Yeah.
observe what's going right, because you want to keep that stuff. And I think that's something people forget a lot. They come in with this, well, and now I've got rank, I'm in charge, I'm going to fix this. Well, I guarantee you not everything needs to be fixed. I mean, even at the worst, you can find things that are working or you wouldn't be there. So yeah, that's my advice to new supervisors. I don't know what the timeline is, whether it's a week or 2 or 3 months, but walk in there and observe. That's your job. Your only job is to observe and find out what's going right and what's going wrong. And then you go in there and enhance what's going right the most you can, help them get it tied together. And then you can start working on how to correct or fix the challenges of what's not working at the time.
Yeah, I think
that's a good point.
You're the new guy. You're the new guy to them. Everyone knows who you are. Everyone knows you're a sergeant. Nobody cares. That's the thing. Like, cool,
right?
Awesome. Like, because there's people like, I could be sergeant. Like, it's not. Who cares? Like, let's see how are you going to take care of me? And I don't think there's a timeline to it because your people will let you know. Just like there's a brand new person that walks into the corrections. We all know nobody's talking to that person. Like, you're brand new. You kind of got to earn your scars a little bit, earn your trust, because these are institutionalized people as well. Like, they get sucked into it as well. So they have that mentality that you're new. This is how we're going to do things. So if you try to match that power trip to both ends, it's not going to work. Because they're testing you, you're going to test them. So if you're just like, hey, this is your shift, let me know what I can do. Because there's still clerical stuff I had to learn. Yeah. So I'm trying to learn how to be a sergeant. Right. I got to do my job first before I can start telling people how to do theirs. And I think my first ever thing I said on the radio was, I need somebody to clean this mess up from the kitchen. That was it. I wasn't telling people what to do. Like, there's a pizza mess or something. That's I can't let that slide. But it kind of set this standard for me. Like, all right, he likes things, but he's going to leave us alone. As long as we do our job, we're good to go. And that's how I treated inmates as well.
So you don't have to. So what you're saying, and tell me if I'm wrong, what you're saying is, in order to lead people, I don't have to lead them step by step. I have to set the expectation, but I don't have to tell them I need somebody to show up with a broom and a dustpan and a mop and a trash can. Let them figure that out. They know how to do that. And the only thing you're doing is just, making them feel bad, making them feel like you don't value them.
Yeah, it's just
is that about right?
Establishing a standard. And a lot of us, commander's intent. Like, what expected out of me. Like, if I don't want to be told, come clean the kitchen, which is a lame reason to have your sergeant come talk to you, then just have that cleaned up. But that also sets the tone for my view on cleanliness around the facility. Like, I don't like messes. I just at least have at any moment, somebody could walk in. That's, being a CERT commander, at any time, the sheriff could be doing a tour with another very high-ranking political figure. And if my locker room is not put together, it's a direct reflection of me. So everything is going to be put away. Everything's going to be clean. You never know who's going to show up. And what's going to happen is, we had a jail commander that was like, he would come in, he'd be like, hey, why is this a mess? Like, it was like I made the mess. But essentially what it showed him was, are you even watching your people? Like, caught me. Right. And there's no right answer. Like, obviously I am. Yes, I am. They're leaving messes. That's okay. Yeah, you're going to lose. So I think it's just establishing standards early, but carefully.
Yeah. And tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that ties over to inmates too. Now, you may have the inmate who has a learning disability that you have to guide a little more, but inmates hate it when you come over there and go, I need you to do this, 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 and this. No, I need you to do this. And how you get there, as long as it's within our rules and policies, I'm okay with. Inmates can have good ideas on how to do stuff also. I've learned a lot from how to do things on inmates by listening.
Yeah. I think I've learned most of my leadership through dealing with inmates. There's, when I was when a new sergeant would come to our shift, they're like, all right, so how do I do this? It's like, well, it's not much different than your housing, like firm, fair, and consistent. Don't nag all the time, or else you're going to get pushback. Obviously, their pushback's a little different, but you still have to build rapport, and human behavior is not much different. So when I tell people, it's worded bad, but it's like the way I treated inmates was the way I treated staff. in a leadership sense, of course, like firm, fair, consistent. It's setting standards. When Hyde is here, this is the expectation. He'll stay out of our way if we stay out of his way. Cool. Like I know you're here. I'm here. We kind of both don't want to be here, but let's not make it bad, like, and it's like nitpicking. You can be the guy that goes around and writes everybody up for every little thing, but that is so exhausting. Just like being a supervisor, I could go and nitpick everything an employee does and try to write them up and but then you're just, I don't know, mean. Like it's like you're trying to prove something.
Or you can grow that employee, and then you don't have to watch them as much. If you teach them how to do things themselves, what is it, teach a man to fish, it'll feed him forever. Give him a fish, it'll last him a day. Well, the same goes with training and instruction and knowledge. Don't go in there telling them all the time. Let them figure it out. Let them decision make, and then they're going to be able to make decisions on their own without you. And that's a great thing. That's what every leader wants. Yeah,
I didn't like, when a supervisor or sergeant or lieutenant would come down and start telling me how to do things, because I got a system going. It kind of interrupts my report, because the way I deal with people is not the way you do. Like, you've got maybe a different report. You've been here a lot longer, so you can do things differently. But it's kind of like that. I've already told them, no, I need you to just let me do my thing, because we had a lot going on. I couldn't go around and just make every decision for everyone else. Like, well, Hyde's not here. I can't make a decision. Well, you're not going to grow. Right. You could be my boss one day, right? Like, the way rank works, like, you could be my lieutenant. I need you. I'm training you to be that. Like, I'm all for it. But if I can train my boss, I'll definitely try to do that the correct way instead of trying to prove myself. I've already proved myself. I got sergeant.
Sure.
Cool. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Let's switch gears just a little bit. So let me see here. It's always hard for me to do this, but there's your book, From Rookie to Rank, and I'll have a link, of course, in the show notes to that for people to see where to buy that at. But so what started you down the path of wanting to write a book?
Yeah, so I really started studying leadership. It was like human behavior and human, just how the brain works has always been really interesting to me. And the more I studied leadership, the more I would get kind of frustrated with maybe people's view on it, or everybody, like, if you're in a ranking position, you're now a leader. You're not.
Right.
Like, leadership is an action. You may be in a leadership position, but it's how you treat that position. If you're going to be authoritarian, if you're just going to call yourself a leader, and and then there's people that are like resume leaders. They go to all these different leadership academies, these little 3-day courses, like, well, I passed this, so obviously I'm a leader now. Like, but now go take care of why you're losing people. Your retention's horrible. Your staff is not, there's maybe some things going on, and so you're not actually leading people. So I think it was a good way for me to kind of get some emotions out as well, just my view of things. And there's not a lot of corrections based. It's out there, but I kind of want to go against the mold, not so much rah leadership, just kind of, my view and my experiences. And then hopefully people can kind of, translate that to theirs, because I truly care about correction staff everywhere. And if I can maybe simplify some things, then that's why I wanted to do it. It worked for me really well. And I wanted to kind of just put it on paper and, kind of spread the word. So yeah, it was a bucket list item for me. I just gotten done with my MBA. I was like, well, I can do a doctorate and do a dissertation, or I can be cool and write a book. It's like not a lot of people get to do that. So like, let's do it. It'll look cool.
Okay. I will mention one way to find this. If you go to www.theprisonofficer.com, when that page comes up, I have a list of correctional leadership books there. There's a button, click that. Matthew's book is on there along with several others. It's something I'm trying to collect into one place, because you're right. 5-10 years ago, there were like maybe 10 books, and now corrections is getting a little bit more. We've got a few podcasts. We've got a few books. We're talking about corrections more, and not about. People keep trying to, and I get emails every week. Hey, I survived prison. I did 20 years. Now I want to be on your podcast. my podcast isn't for that. My podcast is for correctional officers and correctional staff, people who've walked in the gate and worked there. And we're starting to see more of that written by the people who walked in the gate and worked there. And I'm really glad to see those stories coming out and these books on leadership. So
well, I think corrections just painted differently. Like everything's TV. So it's the 60 days in stuff that does not reflect corrections staff at all, or any sort of show kind of glorifies the inmate. Then you watch Cops and it's glorifying the cop, or like there's nothing there might have been like a show, but even then I don't watch them. My kids love it. My wife's always like, is that how it is? Like, it's so different everywhere. Like, I have no idea, but a lot of times it doesn't paint the officer very well. So I think it's great. And and this community is growing. We all try to help each other out and expand it. So it's not a very high ego thing. And we all want success for each other, because there's times where it's time to kind of move on. You get burnout, and I don't want to be done with it. So I want to help. That's how I get through some of my, I guess traumas or whatever that I've collected along the way.
Sure.
And if I can help somebody else out through mine, then and I think that's kind of the mentality of all of us, is we always want to help, and it's a very tight-knit group.
Yeah. I mean, I retired 5 years ago. I could have planted a garden and put a big hat on and, raised peppers, but I wasn't done. When you get to the end of your career, you get farther in your career, and you get to make a difference with people, and you get to help corrections as a whole. There's a lot to that. And I think you're right. It is cathartic. It has helped me putting this stuff down, putting it on the podcast, being able to talk about it. It's helped my family. We've had an open conversation about, what they put up with for years. And I wasn't always the nice person when I came through the door after a shift. So we've had those.
Oh, yeah.
But let me get back to your book. I've got a couple of things highlighted that I read in here and I thought they were interesting. I want to hear have you expand on these a little bit. One of the chapters you have in here is leading through change. And the little sentence that caught me was, people don't resist change because they're lazy. And I think that's the thought that people have about why they resist change. It says people resist change because it challenges what they've already mastered. And I thought that was a pretty cool sentence. Expand that on me and talk about that.
One thing I think every leader should try to learn is how to lead through different generations.
Mm-hmm.
You talk the way you hear things from like a 25-year vet, and how they talk about, oh, we've done it for years like this. We used to just do this. And I think it challenges their thought of being the new guy again. So they know everything. That you're a brand new guy. They know everything. They've been through it. So now here comes this change that, they either quite don't understand or don't understand, because they're going to have to learn something again. And I think that challenges a lot of people, and it hurts their ego, because they don't see the sense in it. But yeah, I just kind of watching the behaviors of people, they see like, why? Like, I don't think it's laziness, because they've been dealing with change forever. Change management and corrections is so fast. But yeah, I think it just makes them feel like the new guy again. And that kind of hurts their ego. Instead of being open and knowing that's part of it, they're going to have to ask the new guy a question. Like, what does this mean? And a lot of times they don't want to do that, because I don't go to that person for that. They come to me. Like, so yeah, that's just kind of been my thought of it. It's
a good point. I did an article for American Jail Association called Reverse Mentorship. And I think there is something to be said about letting, the new generation teach the older generation. And this isn't the first time this has happened. When computers came in, because you're talking to a guy here that started out with typewriters and carbon paper. I've been around for a little bit. So I saw many changes. I went from lever hauls to having a board with our own toggles to call and control to open a door. So change has happened in my career. But to be able, we did that during the computer era when those came into the system. The newer people, and I was one of them that was all into computers and loving video games, even though it was like Pac-Man. But we were the ones that went in and taught the older generation how to use the computer. And you build bonds there. it's reverse mentorship, but it's also training, and you're also building bonds between those two generations. So I think that's something we can look at now.
Yeah, and it just kind of shows some humility on the older generations. Like, you have to adapt. Anything tactical, you have to adapt. It is what it is. But there's some guys that are definitely stuck in their ways, and things are going to go this way. We've always done it this way. But I think we should value those guys as well. They have seen a lot more. They've experienced with a lot less. So I always found value in having those guys come in during a policy change and letting them be part of it, at least voice, to where the higher up people are answering the questions, and they can maybe have more of an understanding when it rolls out, or feel like they had a say in it. That helps out a lot more, rather than everybody learning at the exact same time and, gaining frustrations. At least the older, you show value in the people that have been there through all of it, the good and the horrible. So yeah.
Yeah. And as an administrator, if you're going to roll out a new program and you're going to have new instructors, get one of the instructors that's newer generation, get one of the instructors that's older generation, and have them team instruct that. That's some of the best instruction because staff are going to accept that, because you've got both generations up there talking about it. So if you can do that team instruction and mix the generations, you're going to get better reception on that.
Yeah, definitely.
So another one was hard conversations and honest corrections. Disengaged staff don't improve. They disconnect. And more importantly, they may recruit others to join them in disengagement. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah. Stuff spreads quick inside, and especially emotions. And if, newer staff or staff that are trying to fit in, they're going to have to follow the path of everyone else. And if it's disgruntled, then that's going to be that's the culture. Unfortunately, that's, it's hard for a lot of these guys to not wear their emotion all the time. But negativity spreads just like anything else inside of a facility. There's no secrets. It spreads fast.
And everybody knows the old guy sitting in the back corner that he doesn't like anything. And that's what you have to protect those newer recruits from. Huh?
Yeah. Being an instructor, you deal with that all the time. That I have to be here for training. I've already trained on this for 20 years. Why do I need to come back? Well, because it's legal liability. Because when the courts ask the last time you were trained in this and they say 15 years ago, that's not acceptable. We need to do it all the time. So you need to know that. But that's the person that'll say, you don't need this. We don't ever use any of this. And then they start like, now we're just kind of making stuff up. And, it spreads so quick. And yeah, it's the negativity.
That's one thing I don't miss was, annual training or whatever you call it, where you're at, and you go in there as an instructor, and the back half of the room has newspapers and their arms crossed and this look like, let's get this the hell over with. Well, now, I'm retired, so I go out and train at different agencies. Well, the people at those trainings, they want to be there.
Yeah.
So it's such a different world to go out and train a room full of people that are excited and they're engaged and they're wanting the stuff than it is to have to force through ethics training.
Yeah. And,
or whatever.
Yeah, your annual training where you have to, some people need to sit up front. Like, not everybody can pack in the back. Like, we'd have people pull up chairs, not to a table, just to sit. Like, guys, it's okay. Just scoot up. It's fine. Like, I still see you. I see you back there. You're there. But that kind of showed people, like, I don't know, that maybe they're special. And that's, maybe I just looked at it a little bit differently. Like, why do I have to sit up here? They get to sit back there. Like, how do I earn my spot to sit wherever I want? So it's like regulating that classroom. But yeah, you could tell they didn't want to be there, which showed everyone else that's, but you have to be there. Like, I don't know, you join this job, training's a thing. You're going to train a lot, or you should. Yeah. There's places that have none.
Sure.
So yeah, we're doing double than what we need to. So yeah, not everybody sees it like that though.
I'll tell you, when I made my lieutenant, this was one of the craziest things. So there were a couple of lieutenants who weren't good lieutenants, and they decided to take me under their wing. And so all three of us, it's a big enough agency that all three of us were going to annual training together that, week. And they both came up to me and said, you need to sit on the front row. And I was like, so that, we can show people it's okay to sit up in the front of the class. And they said, no, because if you sit in the back, you can see what people are doing wrong and you'll have to report it. It just blew me away.
Avoidance.
That was the way they looked at life. Yeah.
If you don't see something bad, nothing's happening. But I think that's kind of a facility's mindset. Like, don't look that way. It's just, but that's the opposite of what I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but people need to not get themselves in trouble. Like but you've created a culture where if you just don't do it in front of them, it's you're good to go. But God, that's a lawsuit, man. Sound advice though. That's hilarious.
So here's one you and I have in common. And I don't really have anything highlighted, but I felt a lot of what you said, and that is leading through a difficult administration. And I did that a couple of times.
Yeah.
That was the most challenging part of my career, where a couple of administrations who they didn't like the people who worked for them, they didn't like themselves, and they made the world miserable. But what was your experience with that, and how did you get through it?
Well, in a county level, it's politics. It's very political. So, I mean, it's a different animal than maybe, a prison where that's a hired position. This is an elected position. So there's a lot more to it. There's, people run against each other. I don't think many sheriffs quite know what they're taking on when it comes to jail. So a lot of egos, a lot of let me prove myself, making decisions without necessarily speaking with the people that are inside the building, kind of what's best for them, or here's money cuts, or how can we get patrol this? We need to take this away from the jail. I don't know. It's just all different types of stuff. And then it's sometimes you just don't like the administration, and they know that their people are kind of turning on them. So instead of leading, it's a show of force. Like, well, I'm here. And it's kind of universal. I thought that was like kind of a topic that a lot of people could, that might be dealing. Like, I don't want to just start talking about things that I think it's something everybody faces or has the potential to face.
Sure. Yeah.
So
I lost myself for a while.
Yeah.
I fell into we're getting picked on, and I was trying to avoid getting in trouble. But what I discovered, and you talk about it in your chapter there, what I discovered was that was when the people under me and around me needed me the most. And so I actually learned that I could not ignore what was going on above me, but I found out that wasn't as important as what was going on around me and below me. Those people had a lack of leadership. And when I checked out, they had an even more problem with lack of leadership.
Yeah. And, I think during that time when I think what I came to the conclusion was I needed to be led. I was so busy leading I had nobody leading me. Right. On the people that I trusted. Like, I'm trying to take care of my team. I'm trying to do our job to the best. I'm trying to not show so much frustration to them because it spreads, and I need them to know, because if I freak out, they're going to freak out. And I don't think people understand, the amount of weight you take on, when you take on like a CERT Commander role or, stuff like that, where you are dealing with the top, and it becomes budgets and numbers and not so like, yes, the mission's there, but there's a lot more to it. So I lost myself quick. I was so protective over my people, and I got into this mindset of us versus them, patrol versus corrections. I think that is a lot of places. Right. And, I wanted to protect my guys, and it got viewed a little differently from the above. It just had a negative outcome. And then in my head, I was just thinking, man, at that time I needed a leader, and nobody was willing to do that for me. And maybe a leader could have slowed me down, or like, hey man, you need to check yourself here real quick. Like, this is probably not a good idea. But people were fighting for positions, and I kind of just, I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you're right. I as I travel around the country teaching jails, I see such a discrepancy between one end and the other. You do have sheriffs who come in and they hire a jail administrator or an undersheriff and say, "Hey, jail's yours. I don't want to hear about it." Because it is where their biggest, it's where their money's going, it's where their problems
Yeah.
are, it's all of that. And then I'll go other places, and I hope they don't mind me speaking about it, but I was teaching up in Ingham County, Michigan, a couple of weeks ago, and I was so excited. The sheriff came in. I'm teaching the correctional CTO class, and the sheriff came in 2 or 3 times, and he wanted to know what they were learning. He was engaged, and he knew everybody's name. It was exciting to see that type of sheriff who really cared about his corrections. He'd spent the money, of course, to bring in good training just for his officers, made schedule adjustments so that a bunch of them could be there. And so that was exciting to see also. So, yeah, there's both sides of it. You're right. I don't know what the difference is where they came up, patrol, corrections. I don't know, but there is both sides of it.
Yeah, I think it's, a lot of times the sheriff will hire somebody that is from patrol to run the jail, and that they're trying to learn that. So
I've seen that too.
I'm seeing a lot more places maybe hiring somebody like a lieutenant from a jail to start, because they already have an understanding of all of that. It makes it easier on the staff as well, because we can continue to lead. And I think that was the main focus of that chapter is you still got to lead, man. Like, you still got to do it. So we lead anyway. It's just a little different, a little bit more careful. Think tactically, So sure. we still got to lead. We still got our people. Their people depend on you. So I just kind of felt like I was taking bullets for them all the time, but I would do it all the time. Like I said, I was there to be the whipping post, to protect them, to save them.
I call it the shield.
Yeah, no, literally, you literally feel that. Like I am getting rained on right now with all these problems, but I'm like, hey, we're good. I got this. You guys, I need you to go do your thing.
But if you're not willing to shield, and I said this the other day, if you're not willing to shield the people above you and around you, you're probably in the wrong position. And corrections, we learned that early, because you're shielding the person next to you.
Yeah.
So
people rely on you.
Yeah. So what's next for Matthew Hyde? What do you got going? What's coming up?
Well,
I know you're pushing the book.
Yeah, no, I think the idea was, I want to help, kind of spread the simpleness of leadership, and, maybe bring a different mindset. I'd like to maybe, I opened up a Correctional Leadership Solutions LLC. I got the themircheck.com. It's got, my podcast, my book, all my social medias. And, I'd like to maybe turn it into maybe some speaking engagements, or, like maybe a couple day training, or, just some sort of consulting, something to where, I've consulted a couple jails in the past while I was working as CERT Commander. So the needs there, that I think people are more with, corrections isn't the same as 10 years ago, so it's very heavy in the news. There's a lot of liability. So I think people are becoming more aware of, right, we need as much training as possible. Some trainings are better than others, but if I can spread, the leadership word, then, that would be a passion of mine. I love talking leadership.
Yeah. So I did listen to the first episode there on mirrorcheck.com. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So that was just kind of like, my buddy's like, all right, so you're going to, do a podcast thing. I was like, well, I think it'd be good. I'm still learning the ropes of it. Like, it's still kind of, I'm learning how to do things, but just trying to, again, spread the message. It's gone worldwide. So I've got, downloads all over the place. People are listening. So I've got repeat listeners. So I few people are liking it at least, but I'm trying, any way I could, again, help anybody, anywhere. That's what I want to do.
What's the web address on that?
So themircheck.com will have a link to the podcast, which it is on Spotify. You can find it on Spotify. It's on Buzzsprout. I think Apple Podcasts. I kind of try to spread it around. So yeah, mainly themircheck.com will get you right where all the other places.
Does that have your contact information too, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you?
It does. It's got an email in there. If you'd like to send an email, even if it's just a question, we'll answer questions. Or if you want, we'll come stop by, come hang out and kind of talk about, I like leadership strategy. I don't want to bring one lesson plan, let's hear about like what's going on here. What is the issue?
Sure.
And then what can we do to work through it? But then you also have to be open, like understand that this might be your doing. So how are we going to unravel this? Like, we got to take a step back.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, but it's just like anything else. It's a good first step to reach out, and you don't want to silo yourself. I'm seeing that with a lot of places. They silo themselves. Like, we know everything. We've got the trainings. We have our own academies. Like, we'll do it this way. But sometimes just hearing somebody else's view, and again, it helps me as well, and how I can maybe help someone else. Like, hey, this place is going through this. I never really thought about that. Let's break it down. Let's figure this out. So. It's just us helping each other out. And, if I can talk leadership with anybody anywhere, I'm in.
Sounds good. I'll put all that in the show notes so that people can find the link to that and get to your website and find your book and ask you questions.
Yeah, I
if
appreciate
they've got
it.
them. So I sure appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Again, it's really cool. It's a really cool community that, I'm still new to it, but everybody's been so nice and very helpful, and I'm doing what I can to help everyone else. So it's a very cool community to be a part of, and I'm excited to watch it grow.
Excellent. Hey, you have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Hey, before we go, I'd like to take a minute to thank one of our sponsors. Omni Real-Time Locating System is a company I've been working closely with for years. I'm proud to be a part of this innovative team that's developed the best real-time locating system on the market today for your jail or prison. Omni's PREA-compliant real-time monitoring technology is the very best way to track and record your inmates' locations, their movements, their interactions throughout every square inch of your correctional facility. Imagine getting an alarm the second an escape happens, or an alert that lets you know when an inmate's heart rate drops below a set level. To learn more about Omni, go to www.omnirtls.com. That's omnirtls.com. Or you can click on today's show notes to get in the information guide. Omni Real-Time Locating System is a powerful tool specifically designed for the modern correctional professional. If you haven't done so, please take a moment to like my podcast, or better yet, hit the subscribe button so that you'll be notified when the next episode comes out. Thanks for listening, and let's be safe out there. If you enjoy these podcasts, the best way to support the Prisoner Officer Podcast is to share these episodes with your friends or family on social media. Let me invite you to visit www.theprisonofficer.com. If you haven't already, check out the Prison Officer Podcast on Facebook and click that little follow button. Or leave us a message, or better yet, leave us a review. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Google, or Spotify, please click the subscribe button. Till next time, I'm Mike Cantrell. Watch your back, and please take care of each other out there behind those walls.